Welcome to the Powercast with Charlie Johnson. I'm one of the world's leading fitness and transformation coaches. I'm going to be providing you with the tools to build your ultimate body and mind. Okay, so pleasure to have Julius Maddox today on the Powercast. Absolute pleasure. So we obviously met at Arnold's in the US. Obviously, I got to go and watch you guys train at Westside Barbell. It's an experience, and you're the number one ranked bench presser in the world currently, which is quite an impressive accolade.
Appreciate it.
So it's very, very impressive. The most interesting thing I found out about you, Julius, when we first met, is how long have you actually been training for?
Yeah, roughly around 5 years. Which is a crazy amount of time to then build your strength up to the level you're at the moment. So in terms of, I think you mentioned this to myself before, that in terms of in sheer strength, you're only the third person in history to bench press 700 pounds or more. Is that correct? Yes.
Which is so pretty crazy accolade.
Yeah, at times I still can't believe it myself, So it's pretty cool.
Out of curiosity, so when you first started training, where were you at strength level then? When you first went into the gym, what were you starting at out of interest?
It's a long story. So whenever I was, I think it was about 2012, a little past 2012, I went into rehab for drugs and alcohol.
Yeah.
I'm an open book about it, about my life. But soon after, roughly around, 2013, I started, just tinkering around with the weights, lifting here and there. And I just found a love for it over time. I'd come home and start lifting weights. But, man, I started just like everybody else, began with, 135, working sets with 135, and then, built up to 225, and then 315, then 405, then from 405 to 495, 495 to 585, and it just I just kept growing. I kept getting stronger, and and keep in mind, like I'm in a rehab
so
for drugs and alcohol.
Happened whilst you were in rehab?
Oh yeah, so like I had been lifting weights during that season while I was in rehab.
Yeah,
and that's like really in 2013 around that time. I didn't get serious until 2014. But that rehab was like an 18-month long program. So I was in there the whole time. So it's funny because all we had was I worked out in a basement with a dirt floor. At times that you had to wear your boots down there because it was, it would get muddy.
Yeah.
Because the houses are like older houses, like they're, 100 plus years old. But we had a bench, we had steel weights, and that was my escape or my getaway whenever I was faced with dealing with life and problems and responsibilities.
I think it's interesting. Me and obviously Mike, you met obviously, who came over to Columbus with me. We did a podcast talking about mental health and talking about how fitness saved his life. Would you say that like weight training has had the same effect obviously on you then, obviously taking you from rehab?
Oh, definitely. At that point in time, I was at, one of my most vulnerable points in life. I never really knew who I really was. My identity had been mistaken for so long, for, someone who, ran the streets and sold drugs and, took part in criminal activity. At that point, I didn't know who I was. So lifting weights was vital because, I don't know if you've ever experienced with drugs or alcohol, but once you are recovering and you're off, you go through this phase and there's a state of, for me, depression. And I've dealt with depression really, really bad. And I found that lifting weights helped me kind of counteract my depression and deal with my problems. So like I said, that was my escape. And I found that, whenever I would go lift weights, I would feel better about myself physically, mentally and spiritually. So it played a huge role in my recovery and my mental awareness. Overall, everything.
What was the trigger point that got you into the gym? Was it one person in particular who recommended you for it, or?
Yeah, so it was a couple people. So I had a friend that was in the same rehab that I was at.
Yeah.
And it's basically like a Christ-centered recovery program. It's a discipleship program. So everybody there, not many people are there lifting weights, but there was a guy in particular that I knew from my former life, and like I said, we get off work and we go to the basement and work out. But I remember at one point I looked up and we're searching for more weights to put on the bar, and again at that point we had every single weight on the bar that was in the basement, and I repped it out for like 3 or 4 reps, and we did. It's so crazy. I didn't even know what I was doing, to be honest. That I didn't even know how much weight was even on the bar. We really wasn't.
Just lifted
at one
it.
point. Yeah, I just lifted it. We just stopped adding the weight. We just stopped counting. We're just like, all right, throw 2 5s on there. And it ended up being 505.
Yeah.
And one of the counselors that were there at the time was like, do you realize nobody is lifting that type of weight? And you don't even have any programming. You don't have any form. And you're working out in a basement. And that's before, like, I didn't realize how big of a role that accessories play in your programming,
Yeah.
So I just did like, bench press, and then I do like some skull crushers and maybe some shrugs or something like that, and that's what I did every single day. I did that every single day for like 4 months straight, 5 months straight.
And in terms of like in that period, were you training anything else, or was it literally just doing bench press and tricep sort of stuff, or was it?
Yeah, I mean, that was it. Every now and then, like, we would all gather together on Saturdays, and we would all just like, I attempted to run a mile, but as I continued doing it, I got better, and I finally got up to the point to where, I could run 2 miles without stopping, and in between those, we would do, 100 setups, 100 push-ups. So I was doing a little bit of everything, but I really, at that point, I really didn't know where my place was as far as in the powerlifting world. I didn't even know anything about powerlifting at all. So I was just like, I like to lift heavy weights, and, it makes me feel better. And I love it,
You're obviously gifted for it as well. Like genetically, obviously, you're just built to be strong, I guess.
Yeah. I've always been a bigger guy through high school. And even, after high school, I've just always been, my weight, usually fluctuated between 300 and 320 throughout high school and after high school. But once I got, to rehab and started, growing spiritually, physically, and mentally, like, I mean, I just shot up, and where I was at, you eat, you play, you go to work and do those things. But I blew up, I guess just from being abstinent from drugs, I blew up, so now I'm sitting around 440 right now.
A lean, mean 440.
I wouldn't say lean. I'd say lean 440. Yeah, but
I still remember to this day though. Me and Mike next to you guys in the Powerhouse gym in Columbus. I felt like we felt like children because like the space, you put like 200 pounds on me. It's this madness.
Yeah, I mean that's the crazy thing. Like thinking about it, at the end of the day, I would much rather be smaller and fit, pretty cut up than running around massive and strong. And it's vice versa. Some guys would rather be huge and jacked and just than to be smaller or whatever. So
human nature, you always want what you don't have, if that makes sense.
Yes. Yes.
I don't know, human nature, if you had £1 million, you'd want £2 million. You always want more, or you want something else. So it's difficult sometimes to be content to have what you have.
Yeah, I agree. So, I mean, at some point, like I am going to, cut weight.
What's your long-term goal with the powerlifting then? Do you have any in
Well,
mind of what you're trying, where you're trying to get to?
yeah, I'm in my long-term goal right now. I wanted to get up to about a 775 bench,
Yeah,
but I'm really intrigued by strongman.
yeah.
So I want to cut about 100 pounds. Gonna go on this weight loss journey and start training for strongman also.
What are your other lifts looking like? Deadlifts, squats? Because if you're looking to go in strongman, that other strength's obviously relative.
I think squats. I want to have 1,000+ squat.
Jesus.
Yeah, so it's crazy because it all relates back to what I did in my in my past is that I never at any point thought that I would ever be anybody or do anything great. I was just lost in the world, and now that I'm achieving my goals and I just the plans and the goals for me are just endless. I want to do a lot of stuff now that I see that once I set my mind to something
Giving you
that
belief.
I can do it. So that's the awesome thing. I feel like a little kid where somebody's like, "What do you want to be when you grow up?" And I'm like, "I don't even know because I realize that I can be whatever I want to become."
Yeah, it's all about having that self-belief and confidence. I think that's the biggest thing I probably learned last year or two, is that I think so many people lack that confidence to go and try and achieve what they want to do, and they're too scared of other people's opinions sometimes.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I deal with it still, and I'm sure you probably do on Instagram,
Yeah,
or on social media platforms. It's just I get a lot of hate because of what I do and how big I am, and I've called out a few people on their crap, because usually I'm the guy that I don't even pay attention to it. I just let them run their mouth. But I've had a few guys that tell me that they're like, the reason why I'm so negative and hateful is because I can't get to where you're at,
yeah.
or I can't do what you can do. And I think that's the reason why our world is in the position we're in now, because we always covet and want what everybody else has, and not even thinking about what we could have. We spend so much time focused on what everybody else has instead of focusing on how can I get there, or how can I better myself, or how can I grow in that area. So my main thing is it's part of one of my long-term goals is I want to inspire the world, to reach their full potential. And what I mean by world, like everybody across the world, anybody I come into contact to, I want to inspire them and encourage them to reach their full potential and give it all they got day in and day out and become and embrace the new them. If that makes sense or whatever. I don't know.
Oh, 100%. I think that's the beauty now of social media, is that you can have a voice that you can put out to anyone in the world. And obviously you're in the States at the moment, I'm in the UK, and you can talk real time. You can speak to anyone in the world and contact anyone. Keep scalability and the contact to have influence across a huge array of people from every corner of the globe, which is an awesome thing to be able to do, to be honest with you. What is it you do at the moment in terms of work-wise? You work with, is it kids you help do some stuff with kids?
So I actually became a program coordinator at the place that I went to. I went to that recovery program that I was talking about. Yeah, I ended up becoming a coordinator here and giving back, helping people that was in the same position that I was in. But also, I'm a character coach for one of the local high schools football teams. I go and I teach classes at the middle school just about consequences and just about again, consequences of what will happen when you abuse those things in life and when you don't make the best decisions. So that's just my thing. Like I'm usually I'm in about 70 to 100 schools a year, I would say.
And again, what you're saying about having an influence, that gives you the opportunity to have a huge influence in the next generation, which must be incredible.
Oh, definitely. So like everybody relates to being strong or strength, so it doesn't matter who you are at some point in your life, whether fitness or just being overall strong, people, they're intrigued by it. And that kind of gets me into places that I wouldn't be able to get into because, in the States, I don't know how it works over there, but over here in the States, whenever you catch drug charges, you're not, that kind of cuts you out of a lot of different things, like going to schools and decent jobs and doing things like that. So powerlifting has given me the ability to be able to be in places that otherwise I would have never got an opportunity to go to, So
nice.
That's pretty cool.
It's awesome that you're giving back in that way. Awesome to see. So all credit to you on that one, sir. But back to the world of lifting. So obviously everyone will be fascinated, and Americans in particular, from the UK, seems to be a great obsession. You guys love the bench press.
Yes.
How do you currently set up your training diet? What's your current week's training look like, for example?
So typically the way my split is set up is I train 4 days. I have to complete 4 workouts out of 7 days. But sometimes those workouts or those days will extend to maybe 10 or 12 days, meaning as much volume as that's in my program and the amount of weight that I'm dealing with, at times it might take me, 4 to 6 days to fully heal up to be able to, hit that muscle group again.
Because does
that make sense?
It's very in the nervous system because of the load you're lifting.
Yes. So I've learned that because before in the past, I would push on just to make sure I could complete those 4 sessions in those 7 days. And I kept getting injuries. And just after, years of playing with the program, I just realized that, I need to extend my recovery time. So those weeks are extended sometimes into a week and a half or 2 weeks.
It's about listening to your body and how you feel, isn't it? Rather than the big thing I think I've learned the last 12 months is just because it's on the program, it's on the piece of paper. If for whatever reason you feel a bit off or you don't feel right, that's feedback from your body that you need to listen to, if that makes sense.
Yes, that's correct. Yesterday was my last heavy day, and my program called for 615 on bench press, 615 for 5 reps.
Yeah.
And I felt a tightness in my pec, so I stopped on the 3rd rep. Usually, in the past, I would push through that and cause an injury, and when you're dealing with weights, this magnitude, it's it could be a career ending. Yeah, it could be a career ending injury, so I have to be very smart in how I attack these days and listen to my body, actually, like you said.
How would your training split up over the week? If everything was to go as programmed, do you do chest on Monday? Do you do back on Wednesday, legs separately? How would you split it all up?
Yeah, so typically I'll run you through a week. So typically I don't start my bench days on a Monday. It just depends what day it is that I feel fully recovered. And I know now at this point, I know my body and how I feel. So whatever day, it might be a Monday, it might be a Saturday whenever I start my program of that week. But I'll start out with usually bench. And one thing that I do every day is I incorporate some type of back variation every single time that I lift. So, for example, whenever I go in for a bench session, I work up to my top set. Then I'll drop down, lower the weights, higher the reps, and I'll go into speed bench. Then I'll go into my accessories, and I'll hit maybe some tricep extension, some kind of tricep variation, some type of back variation, another chest variation like cable flies or floor flies, and I may do some type of core variation.
And you do that all within the bench session?
Yes, I do that all within the bench session. Sometimes it takes me 2.
Is there any little nuggets of like accessory work that you found particularly have made a big difference to you? Obviously, you said where you started from training in the basement with no real idea other than the brute force. Like, is there any particular movements you've added in that have made a big difference and suddenly gave you a big leap forward in strength?
Well, are you saying to bench press?
Yes.
Yeah. So, I think rows, seated rows, barbell rows, any type of row. They say for every push movement, you to have 2 pull movements.
Yeah.
That's the nugget is the key to having a bigger bench press. Obviously, is building your back, but targeting your lats.
And is that a lot of that's obviously controlling the negative. You can take a lot of the weight with your lats, I guess.
Yeah, but your lats connect to the front side of your chest.
Yeah.
So it's almost like a rubber band. When you're coming on the negative, you're contracting, you're loading up. So almost like you're storing elasticity. And that's where, so the biggest problem I dealt with was my triceps. My triceps have been so complicated in trying to get them to catch up to the rest of my body.
Yeah.
The speed would be okay off my chest, but I would always get stuck within the range of the last, 3 to 4 inches from lockout. Well, of course I continued to attack my triceps, but we really started focusing on the lats and building my back, but lats in particular. And once I really started building my lats, the weight was so fast off the chest, there was no need to really worry about. I mean, like I just powered through it, So that's something that's been beneficial for me. And I know that there's contradictions and people say different, but for me, the biggest asset to my bench press is my back.
What out of curiosity, what sort of weight would you be using? How would you structure your barbell row work or your rowing work? So, like, you're going to do bench first and then rowing. What would you do for that?
So I would go from, like I said, I go and get all my bench work done. Then I would go into straight into maybe like some neutral grip seated rows.
Yeah.
And I would basically, as far as the weight, I'm up towards probably about 70-80%. And it's kind of hard to base your tricep work off, or not tricep work, but your accessory work off percentages. So I just go pretty much with enough weight to where I can achieve anywhere from 12 to 15 reps.
Yeah. So,
but I want it extremely heavy. Like, I want to tax the body. I want to tax my muscles.
Really,
I want to force my muscles to grow. Yes. So the mistake is people pick weight that is too light. So yes, they can achieve the sets, they can achieve the reps, but they're doing the same thing over and over again, and they're not placing strain on the muscle. That's the only way the muscle is going to grow, is by placing strain on it. So yes, and it sucks. It's hard work, and at times your body aches, and at times it doesn't feel good. But I mean, we're not in it to feel good. We're in it for the results.
Yeah, to improve. It's about the progression rather than the pain in the moment.
Yeah. Does that make sense what I said though? About
100%, 100%.
Yeah,
100%. So I've heard that a lot before as well in regards to like rowing, bringing up your back. Because I remember when I was younger, I had a phase of like, I should see how strong I get at bench pressing. I was terrible, to be honest with you. It wasn't something I was gifted at. It's not really like biomechanically a good movement for me. But I did notice that barbell row did work very well. With your bench work, how would you structure the rep scheme with that? Do you periodize it? So you start with a phase doing slightly higher reps for a while, then you drop it down, or?
Yeah, it is. It's so typically it just depends whenever I have a meet, but the way my program is structured is that we'll go into a phase where we do like a hypertrophic phase where we're doing a lot of reps, a lot of sets. There's been times where I've had to do like 495 for 10 reps, 5 sets, 8 sets, so a lot of volume, roughly between, 70 and 85%, sometimes upward towards.
The rest period is quite long between those sets to get your strength back. Like 2-3
minutes. At this point, I go off field.
Yeah.
When I'm ready. But typically roughly around 3 to 4 minutes. You know, but the long it's back. So some people will say like you want to try to make sure you stick to your rest periods. Well, if you think about it, if I'm competing in bench press, sometimes it might be 20, 25 minutes before I go up for a second or third attempt. So there's a long period of time that you're waiting. So whenever I go for my first, so warming up at a meet, at a competition, you go for your first lift. And it just depends how many people is at the meet. But sometimes it might take, like I said, anywhere from 15 to 25 minutes just to go up for your second attempt. So sometimes in the gym, I have to kind of relate that over to competition, and I might wait between sets, maybe 10 minutes, 15 minutes, just to kind of get acclimated to that, get used to that.
In competitions, try and keep yourself warm between like sets. If it's that long a wait, like 20 minutes is a long time.
Yep. So what I'll do is I'll keep some dumbbells near me.
Yeah.
And I always keep some type of band, like rubber band, like not rubber, but a fitness band.
Yes.
Yeah, just to keep my shoulders warm, just continuing to stretch, and make sure that I stay loose and warm. But one thing that I do, it doesn't matter where I'm at. If I'm in the middle of Houston, I'll keep a hoodie on. I keep a lot of clothing on during my meets.
Funny you said that. That's the first thing I was thinking. Like, if that was me, that's all I would do, just keep myself like wrapped up, super warm.
Yeah, I always keep a hoodie and a t-shirt on, even if it's 108 degrees outside. Like I said, down in Texas or something, like I make sure that I'll still, keep some clothing on to stay warm. So just small things like that I never knew before, just that I've learned over the years. And again, I'm no guru at this. I'm just learning. I try to always remain teachable because I want to continue to learn. I want to be the best at what I do.
That's why you're improving. Yeah.
So and I don't have a specific way that I go about things. If there's something that I need to try, then maybe I need to try it and see if it works for me or if it fits. So my whole mindset behind it is always remain teachable.
Yeah, open-minded.
Open-minded, man.
I think that's the mistake a lot of people make, particularly when they're younger, is they're too much of an ego that they won't listen to other people and like take other people's advice sometimes. And I think that's what shoots a lot of people down when they don't progress and like achieve their full potential, because they're very narrow-minded in their approach.
Oh, I agree. I definitely agree. Especially when it comes to not trusting your program.
Yeah.
And you have people in your ear like, no, go ahead and max out. Go ahead and that's not
people trying
program is hype you up. And unfortunately, you see some people that have injuries because of that.
Yeah, that's all it takes, particularly with like the loads you're lifting. One ego lift too far and like bang, that's good night. That's game over.
Yep, and I've done that too. It wasn't necessarily like an ego lift, but I seen a kid that was doing box jumps in the gym, and throughout high school and even still now, I'm somewhat athletic.
Yeah,
but I see this kid doing it's like a 36-inch box jump.
Yeah,
I was like, man, I can still do it. I know I still got it in me.
What, 400 pounds?
Yeah, and I made it on top of the box, but the box tipped. And that injury put me out for about 6 months.
Jesus.
And at that point, I was probably the strongest I've ever been. It was right after I hit my first 700-pound bench. And I did that a week later, and it set me back for about 6-7 months. It set me out. Like I couldn't, my shoulder was jacked up. I'm still experiencing the consequences from that box jump right now. My back's jacked up, my shoulder's jacked up, but I've recovered, but there's still, and that's for me, ego lifting or
around,
doing it. Yeah, doing it for followers or Instagram just to show off, it's not worth it. At the end of the day, it's not worth it at all.
Longevity is everything. Obviously, you mentioned in terms of injury there. Is there anything you do in terms of prehab or like injury prevention or treatment at the moment just to make sure firing correctly and well maintained?
Yep. So I go water. So we're talking about water. I drink a lot of water.
Yeah.
That's key.
How much water do you drink?
But roughly around a gallon, gallon and a half, sometimes upwards towards 2 gallons per day, but at least a gallon per day. Yes. But also, I go to. Have you ever heard of sensory deprivation?
Yeah.
So I go into. There's times I go and float in a sensory deprivation tank, and I also get deep tissue massages.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of deep tissue massage. I find it makes so much difference because the thing I noticed, I don't know if you get the same, is that when you've had a decent deep tissue massage, you'll get like almost like a dry mouth feeling in your mouth where all the calcium deposits in the muscles, all the crap and toxins get broken down and left in there, gets released into the blood, and it just filtering out all the rubbish that's like built up in your system almost.
Yeah. Oh, you're exactly right. I mean, that's why you it's a funny feeling whenever you're done, because of all the toxins. Yes, you feel really weird because all that stuff that's built up in your muscles is finally broken up and released. So it's a great feeling though, and it's helped me stay on my toes and continue to aim for this record.
How long do you reckon you'll be till have you got a time scale in mind of when you're going to go for it?
Oh yeah, I have. I go for my next attempt will be next weekend.
Really exciting stuff.
Yeah. Yep. So I mean, to be honest, I love being big. I love bench press. I've had this goal ever since I've found out about powerlifting. But I'm to a point to where I want to do other things. Like I do want to do strongman.
Yeah, it limits you on other things, I guess.
Yeah, it stops me from doing a lot of things because I'm so focused on bench press. So, but I'm getting this record. I'm gonna smash it. It's going down. If not Saturday, it's going down this year. I'm giving it all I got.
It's gonna happen.
Yeah, me and my coach, we have been.
Who's your coach?
Josh Bryant. Okay. His name is Jailhouse Strong. He pumps out a lot of content. Very knowledgeable. He's one of the best in the game. He has about, I think, like seven or eight 600+ pound benchers on his team.
Yeah,
so he's got a
impressive team.
Squad. Yeah,
impressive team.
So yeah, me and Josh, we've been training. So
do you actually train with him?
I have. So put it this way, I haven't got to actually train with him, but we communicate on a daily basis. He's the one that does all my programming. He's the one that just helped me, get started off. Between Josh Bryant, my trainer, and my other workout partner, Josh Patterson, those are the two guys that, where my foundation started. They were right there. Because I get asked that question a lot. They're like, so why don't you ever switch up training methods? And I'm like, this method that I'm doing right now has worked. So why would I change it,
I think that's a common mistake. I don't know if you get the same in the powerlifting world, but in fitness, like people on like a weight loss diet, the most common thing is they want to get results faster, but what they're doing is working, so they want to try something else. But it's like, why change? If it's not broke, don't change it. Something's fixed. It's working. Yeah. Just be patient.
Yeah, and I mean, I've gotten phone calls from people, and actually people who've broken the bench press record before. I've gotten phone calls from them, and just many people asking me like, why am I still training under Josh? And it's like, why do I need to change whatever I got going on? I'm the strongest I've ever been. Like I'm it's not like I've been a season where, I've been stagnant, I've progressed from day one, so
it's a big,
and he's
big fan. Yeah. The proof's in the pudding, as it were. So like, if you look at your results, you're ranked number one, highest, strongest bench press in the world. Like whatever you're doing is obviously working.
Yeah. But that's the problem, man, with social media and this fitness industry is everybody's a coach. Everybody has the secret. and
And the
you just have
reality
to
is,
get
for
to
most things, that people are looking for a secret. There isn't a secret for most of these things. Most of the answers
yeah,
are so basic that people don't want to listen to them.
it's hard work.
Yeah, and consistency.
I know you do. So, for example, I know you do programming.
Yeah.
And I guarantee you it's the same for you as me. Whenever somebody inquires to you about a program and you ask them like, what program are you following, or have you ever followed a program? Most people say, I don't follow one. I haven't. I've never followed one. And it's like, in order for you to get stronger, how do you track or gauge whether you are getting stronger or not, or whether you're straining your muscles or not? Because there's nothing to document or to say 6 weeks ago I was at this point and now I'm at this point. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah, if you can't quantify something, you can't control it. So
yes.
So it's the same with taking progress photos if you want to lose weight. Like, people hate doing it at the start, but then how do you know in 6 weeks if you look any better than you did the previous 6 weeks if you didn't
exactly
fight from where you first started?
Yep, exactly. So that's kind of the theme of everything. But like the programs that I am doing is it's just basic. It's a progressive overload, just periodization, just going through phases where you go through the speed phase or the hypertrophy phase, and then you go into the speed phase, and then strength phase, and then we're close to peaking. But everybody wants to cheat or try to find some secret,
the magic.
Some magic, or like you said, it's hard work and consistency. Yes. That's it, man.
It's the same with business and pretty much any other aspect of life. It's like the biggest thing I'm a big fan of is like the biggest variable you can control is your work ethic. And
yep.
You want to be better than everyone else. If you work harder than them, then chances are you probably beat them.
Yeah, I mean, that's what it is. That's why only 1% succeed.
Indeed, very much so. So with your rest of your training program out of interest, obviously, so you're going to do your bench work on the start of the week. How would you split the rest of the body up? Would you just do like a lower body day, or?
Yeah. So typically, whenever I go do legs, I hit some type of back variation. Yeah. I'll do like some squats and some accessories for squats. And again, like I said, some type of back variation. And then
what would you use as an accessory movement for squats, out of curiosity?
We got leg extensions. You got leg curls. I'll get on the leg press machine, do single leg presses. There's a I can do pulse squats. I mean, there's some. I'm not gonna say box jumps. I'll stay away from boxes, but there's and this is the crazy thing. Like, there's so much information out there on the internet for people to be able to create their own programs, or people to be able to learn how to be fluent in your movements. It's just crazy, but that's what's worked for me. Is just going in day after day, and there's days to be honest, there's days I might go in thinking I'm going to do legs. But I'm like, no, I think I'm going to do back. But as long as I complete that workout,
tick the box.
Yes.
Cool. No, that's good. That's sort of what I was expecting, to be fair. I still remember when I turned up a West Side Barbell, I was very confused when they had no leg extension machine. I didn't quite know what to do with myself when we were going to train legs. So that was an interesting one.
Yeah. So I don't. West Side, they're very different the way they train. So. Yeah. I don't really go into all that because I'm sticking to what program I'm used to and what is beneficial for me, so.
Yeah, exactly. If it works for you, that's obviously the plan to go.
Yes.
100%. With so obviously we covered the big aspects in terms of training, obviously your tips with that. With your diet, what do you do? Did that change drastically when you started training properly?
I mean, of course, I got to fuel my body. So roughly anywhere from 45 to 6,500 calories a day.
And is that a struggle for you at 400 plus?
Yeah, at times, because I have to force myself to eat.
Yeah,
I'm not a. See, like, people think that I'm a guy that goes to buffets every day and slams cheeseburgers and all that. No, if I did that, I'll be on the verge of a heart attack.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be able to do some of the stuff that I do.
And that puts a lot of inflammation in your body as well, eating junk food like that.
Yeah, definitely. Don't get me wrong. Like I eat, like I'm huge on eating cereal. I love cereal. When I don't feel like eating, cereal is my go-to.
What's your favorite cereal?
I like Captain Crunch.
Good shout. We don't get that.
Yes. Y'all don't?
No, we can't get that. You have to get it imported from the US, and it costs about £1 million a box. So
I need to send you some, bro. I'm gonna send you some Captain Crunch, bro. Send me your address. I'll get you some Captain Crunch over, bro.
I would appreciate that.
So I do have a thing. I got a meal prep lady. She preps all my meals for me. But just grilled chicken, rice. Get my veggies in. I'm not saying I don't eat fast food sometimes because I do. But there's really no
favorite fast food. I'm not going to say when I'm trying to guess.
Of course, cheeseburgers.
I was gonna thought it might be like fried chicken or something.
No, I mean, not really. Why would you say fried chicken?
I was just guessing. I don't know. I just thought it's a stereotypically like American thing, but for me, like I eat burgers all day long. Fried chicken is horrible.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I like fried chicken, but my go-to is like a cheeseburger. A nice double cheeseburger with extra cheese.
Where's the best cheeseburger in the US?
Okay, there's multiple. So we got for me, the best place that I would tell you like you have to eat at this cheeseburger place is In-N-Out.
Yeah, everyone says that. I've never tried it.
In-N-Out, and then you got Five Guys.
Yeah, we have Five Guys in the UK. That's banging. To be fair, it's good.
Yeah, Five Guys, and you got Whataburger.
Yeah, I've not tried that one.
So Whataburger's pretty good, but I like to eat a lot of like hibachi too, hibachi grill.
Yeah.
But typically that's my go-to. Just about when I'm in a season where I'm not eating my prepped food. I like going and getting like chicken hibachi with rice and vegetables.
What's out of curiosity, a couple other questions regards to your diet. What's your average go-to breakfast look like? And do you use any other supplements in terms of like protein supplements, carbs, or anything like that?
Yeah, so typically I'll eat 5 eggs, 3 pieces of bacon, some wheat toast, then go into some type of fruit.
Yeah.
A little after, I don't eat it with, but a little after I'll eat some fruit. Then I'll go in and drink maybe about a 80 to 90 gram protein shake.
Yeah.
And then, lunch, then I'll get a snack and then protein again. And then, another snack and then dinner.
What would you have for your snacks?
It just depends, like a protein bar or sometimes cereal. It just depends how I feel,
It's some man for
I'm not really counting calories necessarily. But again, I'm not just going and gorging and eating all like crazy amounts of food and stuff. So kind of know my limits now, but used to I would be like, just an emotional eater. Yeah. Just eating everything.
But I guess that's where your mindset now is so much stronger than it used to be.
Oh, definitely.
So that's it's a accolade to you in that itself. And obviously, you're part of the Tough Wraps team. So in terms of like training supports, what do you use? How do you use it? Is there anything particularly you'd recommend for improving your bench?
Yeah, so typically a must-have is wrist wraps, period.
Yeah,
it's a must-have.
I agree.
You got to have wrist wraps for support and just overall safety. I remember at one point before I was with Tough Wraps, I would always train with no wrist wraps, and my wrists would ache. It just feels so. I mean, to the point to where I'm like, man, is this even
thick ones? I presume.
Yeah, I like the shorter ones though.
Okay,
shorter ones give a little more stretch to them.
Yeah.
I think they're the 16s maybe.
Yeah, that's the ones I use.
But it's all about preference, to each its own. But I like the shorter wrist straps because I'm able to stretch them a little more and get them how I like them to fit. I want a little bit of flexibility to my wrist straps, but I still want the tightness and support.
Okay. Yeah.
But so whenever I'm in whenever I'm in season, like I'm training, like I'm getting ready to go through peak phase. I prefer not to use elbow sleeves.
Yeah.
Because I don't care what anybody says. Elbow sleeves do give you a little more leverage over compared to
same as using knee wraps and knee sleeves.
Yeah,
they bring out the bottom of the movement.
Yes. So sometimes on the day, like on my meet day, I might put my elbow sleeves on just to keep my elbows warm. But for the most part, I only train with elbow sleeves when I'm out of season or at the beginning of my season, because I want to be kind of accurate on what weight to gauge that my projected max. So or does that make sense? Like I want to make sure that, because it does give you some kind of consistency.
You don't know where you're at, and you want that. It's like we were talking about earlier. You want that consistency with variables you control. So if you're not going to use that when you're doing the meet, or you're not going to use that all the time, then you shouldn't really be using it because it's not consistent.
Yeah, exactly. But definitely the wrist wraps, elbow sleeves, knee sleeves when I'm training legs. Those are a must. Unless I forget my gym bag or something like that. But for the most part, you got the wrist wraps are a must. You have to have the wrist wraps. But the elbow sleeves and knee sleeves are great for support of the joints and to keep your your elbows warm and knees warm, and just for support. Period.
Yeah, I just if I ever get any pain or like they feel a bit off, I might put them on, just put a bit more compression and like support the joint. But generally, I try not to use them other than that.
So, like for tendonitis, especially for tendonitis, like they work wonders whenever you're getting tendonitis in the elbows and things like that. Put on some elbow sleeves. I'm able to complete whatever I need to complete that's set in my program that day. So definitely beneficial. So if somebody's had any kind of pre-existing injuries, or if they're having trouble with their elbows, I would suggest getting you some elbow sleeves. And even if you want a little edge on your bench, I would say get you some elbow sleeves.
Agree. And I also think a lot of people who have shoulder pain should also try wrist wraps or elbow sleeves, because a lot of the problems from the wrist and the elbow actually are traveling down and causing problems in people's shoulders where they're overcompensating. Mm-hmm. A lot of people think they've got a shoulder issue, and it's actually sometimes the wrist or the elbow which is leading on into the shoulder.
That's funny you say that. I'm no doctor by any means or anything like that. But,
so that's my anecdotal experience.
Yeah, from experience, whenever I have tendonitis in my elbows, and I previously had an injury from CT Fletcher's Iron Wars a couple months back. But whenever I put my wrist straps on tighter, that it took the pressure off of my elbow.
Yeah.
And it allowed me to complete my sets, like especially like tricep extensions, because I went like a month where I couldn't even do a tricep extension. So putting my wrist straps on tighter allowed me to, continue on and complete my workouts.
Yeah, it gave you more support in that respect.
I guess it just what it did was pull the muscle or pull the joint away from where it was. I don't know. Like I said, I just know that it worked. I know that it definitely helped doing that.
That's what you're after, is whatever fixes the problem.
Yes. So
cool.
Whether it pulled the joint off the elbow or whatever was bound, it helped release. I don't know, but I just know it worked.
Did the job. Well, I think we'll start to wrap that up there then, Julius. So in terms of wrapping this up, what would be your number one tip for anyone who's looking to improve their bench press or get into powerlifting?
I think it's all about mindset. Embrace the bad days. You're going to have bad days in the gym.
What, where you just don't feel strong?
I'm sorry?
What, where you just don't feel strong?
Yeah, where you just don't get lifts that you expected to get. Where you just have overall bad days. You could get an injury, and that could deter you from continuing to press through and overcome the next obstacle. So just have like your mental focus needs to be on point day in and day out. And like I said, embrace the bad days. There's going to be times where you don't feel like going to the gym. You have to push yourself to go to the gym.
Yeah.
Yeah. So everything always points back to mindset.
Yeah. And that's why I always say it's not about being motivated, it's being disciplined, because motivation will come and go. But if you're disciplined, you'll just get it done no matter how you feel.
Yes. And it turns out most people that have those days end up having, a great workout. It's just you have to push through that and overcome that obstacle that day, whatever it may be. And another thing is listen to your body.
Yeah, we already
we talked about that earlier, but that's key, man. Is just listen to your body, and so if you have something's just not feeling right, tone it down. It's not always, you don't always have to go heavy all the
time. No, go by feel.
So yeah, just go by feel, man, and take your rest days. Make sure you get the proper amount of rest.
And plenty of rest, plenty of water, decent food.
Correct. And other than that, man, I'm pretty sure we covered just about everything.
And so anyone who obviously wants to get in touch with you for any help with bench press programming, how do they find your social media, Julius?
So you can look me up on Instagram, and my name is irregular_strength.
Cool. And I'll pop that in the description for the podcast as well, so everyone else can find you in that.
Awesome, man. I appreciate everything, man. I'm honored.
Cool.
You brought me on here today, so
absolute pleasure.
I'm gonna get you that box.
Yeah, mate. Genuinely, I'll send you my address. Funnily enough, I put something on my story yesterday about Pop-Tarts, and I had a few people from the US who were trying to send me boxes of Pop-Tarts. It was quite amusing. So, 100%. It's an absolute pleasure to have you on, and I'm sure everyone will take away a lot of knowledge bombs from this and how to build up the bench press. So, and good luck for the competition next weekend. I'm sure you'll smash it.
I appreciate it, man. I appreciate it.
So awesome. So pleasure to have you on, and everyone check out Julius if you don't already.